Hello, everybody. It's Ellen here, and I'm from Champion Enterprises, and I want to thank the business leaders for inviting me to come on and share my story here today. So, a little bit about me. All right. Before Tupperware, I worked in retail. I worked as a server and worked at country clubs. I worked, I was a restaurant manager and I was a small business owner. My husband and I owned a coffee shop, all before the age of 24. And then I started in direct sales when I was 27, when my oldest, Dakota, was a couple months old. And little did I know, a year later, we would be closing our store and I would be pregnant with my second, Ella. Needless to say, it was the beginning of one of the most stressful periods of our life. And we were stressed to the max. We were maxing out our credit cards left and right, robbing Peter to pay Paul, as my dad used to always say. And it was a struggle. And we naively thought we would bounce back within about 3 months. It wasn't, we thought we were going to bounce back, within about 6 months. But it wasn't until about 3 years after that we finally started getting a foothold. And it largely was due to Tupperware. And so a year before I joined Tupperware, I was actually with my second direct sales company, right? So think about this. So by the time I came to Tupperware, I had already had technically 3 failed businesses. And I was a little broken as far as my own, personal confidence and anything like that. I truly believed that there wasn't a business out there that I couldn't fail at. Right. I was failing at all the businesses. Right. So I know a lot of people feel that way. They come to this and they feel like a failure for whatever has gone on in their life. But it's just not true. And I'm going to share that with you. All right. So when I met Pam Clift about a year before I started in Tupperware, and I was trying to start a direct sales networking group, right? Because I needed support in my direct sales business. And I was like, there's got to be other people out there like me. And I somehow got connected to Pam. And so I was sitting at my first meeting and there was just going to be 4 of us there, myself included. So these 2 other women sitting there, and in walks Pam Clift. Okay. And if you know Pam, that's the best way to introduce her, okay? Because that's how she walks into a room, right? And when you have been like struggling financially, emotionally, all of that, and you see somebody that is like this beacon of like positivity, you're like a moth to flame. You're like, I can't get enough of this human being. Like, I need more of this in my life, right? And she her vibe was so great. I just wanted to drink her in, right? And I remember when we were leaving that meeting that night, she asked me, she's like, so direct sales, like, what's your story and where do you want to go in this business? And I was like, I'm going to the top, right? Because I'm talking to Pam Cliff. She's super successful and I wasn't. And I was like, I'm totally posturing. So I was like, I'm going to the top. And she says, oh, I don't doubt that, sweetheart. So that night I went home. My husband worked nights and I went home and I woke him up and I was like, babe, you got to get to work. And so he was getting himself ready and I said, I had the most amazing night. And I'm like, and I met the most amazing woman. And he was totally ignoring me. And I said, and I'm leaving you. And he was like, what? I said, you're not listening to me. How often do I come home and say, I met somebody amazing? I'm like, please listen. He's like, give me a minute. So he splashed some water in his face. So as he's putting his boots on to go to work, he says, okay, tell me about your night. And I was like, man, I met this woman and she's just like everything I want to be personally and professionally. And she's so positive. And I just absolutely loved her and I want to be around her. And he was just like, okay, that's great, babe. Like, what's he going to say, right? So during this next year before I joined Tupperware, I would try to get with Pam as much as I could. And she gave me lots of advice in the business that I was in, trying to like really coach me where I was at and to grow the business that I was already in. And she even invited me to like a couple of her meetings where she had a speaker that I enjoyed. And coincidentally, which I'm pretty sure was not a coincidence on her part at all, her top leader was getting a G6 convertible and the president of Tupperware was there. But I digress. But I remember sitting in that room and thinking, gosh, this is what I want. Like, I want a room full of my people, right? I want to be this type of a leader. And then in the meantime, my conference came up, right? So the second company I was with, I was actually one of the first 40 consultants with the company, right? It was the elusive ground floor opportunity, right? And everybody who's never done direct sales knows that the the only way you can make money in direct sales is the ground floor opportunity, right? It's a big fat lie. Don't anybody ever tell you that, right? Because you know what? What's on the ground floor is mud, and the elevator, it doesn't work. Okay, so don't buy into it. All right. And so I was standing up there on the stage, and it was like they left us up there too long, and I'm standing there, and all these people are like looking at me, and I'm like, they're applauding, like, ah. And I thought, there's somebody out there wishing they were me, and I had to beg, borrow, and steal to get here. I'm not making any money. So who cares about my title? Who cares about any of this if I'm not making any money? And I remember leaving there feeling like, this is all smoke and mirrors. You can't make money at direct sales, not unless you've been working for 30 years, right? And I'm like, I don't have 30 years. I need money now, right? And I was so frustrated. But I went home and I kept working because I just didn't know what else to do. And I remember a couple months later, I was leaving a meeting with Pam, and I was walking out. Again, I wanted to be around her as much as possible. So I'd walk out to the car with her. I'd walk in from the car with her, like as much as I could. So we're walking out to the car, and she's like, hey, how's everything going? And I was like, you know what? My husband, he really needs a win right now. Like, he's hurting, and he's trying to find a job, and he was looking for a full-time job. He already had his part-time job that he worked at night. And I'm like, he's really, he's just really struggling. And I really want to win for him. And she says, is he good with the computer? And I said, yeah, I think he's better than me. And she's like, because I'm looking for somebody to sell Tupperware online. I'm like, Pam, my husband doesn't want to sell Tupperware. And she's like, well, I need somebody to sell Tupperware online. They can make some good money. And I was just like, I'll see, but I don't think so. So then she says, well, what about you? How are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm fine, And she said, are you sure? Is there anything going on? And I said, honestly, I think you can't make money at direct sales. I said, I think it's all smoke and mirrors. I think the only people making money are people like you. And I'm very frustrated by the whole thing. And I'm thinking about walking away. And she's like, wait a minute. Like, she's like, can we talk? And I'm like, yeah, we can talk, but I can't talk this weekend. I'm going home. So she's like, we'll talk next week. So I drive home. Like, I live 10 minutes from where we were. I drive home, I'm walking in the door, and Eric's on the phone. I'm like, who in the world is he on the phone with? And he goes, yeah, she's walking in right now. And he says, he hands me a phone. He's like, it's Pam. And I'm like, oh my gosh. She just called to try and recruit my husband from our conversation 10 minutes ago. I was like, she's good. Like, I was like, dang, that's why she gets paid the big bucks, right? But she wasn't calling to recruit him. She says, you know what? She's like, I can't stop thinking about you. Let's set something up before you leave town. So we set something up for when I got back. And she said, do me a favor. Don't do anything until we talk. Don't leave your company. Don't do anything. Let's sit down and talk this out next week. And I'm like, all right. So I went home, and my dad was really sick at the time. And we were all going home just to kind of spend time with him. And so we went home, and I knew the weekend wasn't about me. But anybody who knows me, like really knows me, I am an open book. You can take one look at me and know when something's bothering me, know when I'm upset. And it's not tears typically. It's just something that I put out there for people that know me. People that don't know me, they don't notice, right? But these are the people that knew me best in the world, and not a single person realized and could see that I was just drowning. I was drowning in life. And I was like, you know what, I got to go home. And so I get the kids in the car, and they were asleep before I even got to the highway. When I got on the highway, I looked in the rearview mirror, saw they were asleep, and the floodgates open, and I just cried. And it was a 3-hour drive home, and I just cried the entire way. And I remember praying, I'm like, God, please tell me what to do. I cannot make any more hard decisions. I'm exhausted. Like, tell me what to do. And please just make it easy for me to see what it is I'm supposed to do here. I don't know what to do. And so that Monday, I sat down with Pam, and we sat at the island in her kitchen, which is still, to this day, one of my favorite places on earth, is sitting at her island. It's a place of acceptance and of love and comfort. And we sat there and we did a good old-fashioned pros and cons list of staying with my company and joining Tupperware, right? It became very obvious that Tupperware had a lot more to offer me, right? A lot more. And that was 14 years ago. Okay, so think about this now. I mean, like, we have way more to offer people now. So that's like super exciting. So yeah, I was like, okay. And I looked at her, I said, listen, I don't know what you're gonna do with me because I can't date parties and I can't recruit. And she was like, she kind of looked at me like that was like a nonsense excuse. Like, she's like, well, I can teach you all of those things. And I'm like, And she said, I can tell you that you don't believe in yourself right now. And she said, but put your trust and your belief in me and do what I say and I will take you to the top. And I was like, okay. Right? I didn't sign up right then because I was still playing my cards really close to the vest. She didn't realize how bad we were struggling financially, but I was terrified that my card would get denied in front of Pam Clift. So I signed up the next day after I checked my bank account and made sure that the card would go through, right? And so I got started in the business, right? And in my first month, I made $1,500 and got $500 in giveaways. And I was like, what? Like, what just happened? Like, I was so excited. That was more money than I made in my best month with the other company that I was with, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I promoted to manager. I was like so excited. And I'm like, this is the best kept secret in all of direct sales. Everyone needs to know. Like, I was on a mission. I was like, it's happening. Oh my gosh, I was so excited. Now, here's a tip. Something that I did when I came to Tupperware was I knew about direct sales, right? I had been doing direct sales for a couple years. I had some moderate success, right? But I pride myself, when I'm excited about something, I immerse myself into it, right? I educate myself like crazy, right? So I knew a lot about direct sales. But when I came to Tupperware, I was a blank slate. I had fresh eyes and I was open to anything, right? I was a sponge, an absolute sponge to any training whatsoever. And I still am today. If I'm struggling with dating, I listen to, Dating 101, okay? I'm not above any like new training or anything like I'm into it. I'm totally into it. And so, but and this is where the tip comes in. So what it is that I do is when I listen to a training, say the training is 30 minutes, I schedule not only the 30 minutes in my schedule, but I give myself 15 minutes to process and I give myself 45 minutes to execute. And now I know we're all busy and you're like, Ellen, that's like, I don't know, 2 hours, like an hour and a half, right? I don't have an hour and a half, right? I get it. I hear you. I see you. Okay. I am you. And a lot of times I listen to training in car, right? So, but listen to the training. But within 24 hours, you have to schedule that time to plan and execute it. Because that's how you learn. You learn by doing, not necessarily by training. If I just listen to training all the time, it goes through a filter in my brain and only about, I don't know, 1/10 of it comes out. Right? The rest gets stuck up there. So you want to make sure you're scheduling that time to execute. So that is tip number 1. All right. So, okay. Month 1, huge success. Month 2, not so much. All right. Give me some love if you have had a abysmal month after a super successful month, right? We've all done it, right? It's happened to all of us. And especially right there in the beginning, in the first month, everybody's excited. Friends, family are supporting you. That's super awesome, right? And the second month, you're like, oh, I ran out of people. Like, what do I do now? Right? What should I do now, right? And so after that second month, I kind of regrouped, right? And I was going into month 3, and I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, it's on, right? Let's go. And so I go into month 3, and Pam, this was January, right? And so Pam told me that January is a great month in Tupperware. I believed her. Right? I didn't have anybody, why would I not believe her? She's telling me that, right? Then she told me, in order to make the money that you want to make, you need to focus on personal sales and you need to max out your personal sales volume bonus at over $3,200 in personal sales every month. This was back then, right? Now it's $4,000 is where you max that out, right? So $4,000 a month or more is where you max out that personal sales volume bonus every single month. I believed her, right? And then she told me, in order to really grow my business, I need to personally recruit 5 people every single month. I believed her. Actually, it was kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but let's go. Right. And so I said, and I believed her. Right. And so and I just kept going, right? And I started getting that momentum going in my business. And did I hit that every month? Absolutely not. But I swung for the fences every single month. I went for it and I left it all on the field. And most times I got the sales part in. Sometimes I fell short on the recruiting or something like that. But then the next month I started all over again. I'm like, okay, who can I call? Who can I contact? Best kept secret. I need to tell everybody, right? So things were really trucking along in my business, right? Back then, our DIQ program was like 6 months long. And sometimes you could do it in 5. And I was on paid to do it in 5. And so that was really great. However, life was really complicated for us back then, right? And it's complicated now, quite honestly, but it was complicated then. My kids were 2 and 3, and that is like pull your hair out time of life. It's wonderful. It's amazing, and it goes way too fast, but it's kind of a very hectic time for a mother. And my husband was working 2 jobs. He worked all night long. He worked a part-time job in the evenings, and then he worked full-time during the day. So when he was home, he was like narcoleptic. Like, he was literally no help in the parenting department during that time, okay? He helped in other ways with the money and the insurance and all that stuff, right? So it was just kind of hectic, right? It's all evolving around their schedules and drop-offs and pickups from preschool. And when Ella was at home by herself, she was a little mischievous. So that was, honestly, it was better when they both were home. So I didn't get much done when Dakota wasn't home. So, but on top of that, my father was sick. And that was really truly what was occupying my mind, my heart, my time. Anytime I heard the word infection or heard a tone in my mom's voice, I went home. And so if I had more than 36 hours that I didn't have a party or a meeting, I a lot of times would call Eric as I was like getting on the highway. Hey, I'm going home. I'll see you sometime tomorrow. I have a party tomorrow night. And he's like, go. And that was the first time in my life I really truly realized like how important it is to live life with no regrets, especially with the people that you care about most. And that's what I did. And I remember I love talking to my dad about business because my dad was an engineer, and then at later part of his life, he owned a business. And so we loved talking about business when we had our coffee shop and even Tupperware. Like, we loved talking about business together. And I remember he would tell me all the nurses I needed to recruit. He would tell me about the girl at the coffee cart, that she was so cute and she'd be perfect for my team. And he, we used to sit there and we would dream about, like, I'm going to recruit all these people in my hometown so that I could come home and do meetings with them. And he's like, you should get in at the county fair so you can be here for an entire week. He just loved, like, everybody coming home, And I remember one time I walked in and he says, so when's Avon sending you a car? I said, Dad, I don't think Avon's sending me a car, but Tupperware might. And he's like, you know what I mean? I was like, yeah, but I couldn't let it slide. It always made me laugh. So in my 5th month in DIQ, my dad passed away. And it was, and still remains to be, one of the hardest things of my life. And even all these years later, it still is very hard. And a lot has happened. A lot has happened in the last couple of years. I would have loved to talk to him about business, life, parenting, and but that's part of the business, right? You come and you life comes and hits you like a wave, and then it washes away, and and you're left there trying to figure out what now, right? So it was time to go home and get used to this new normal. And I was supposed to do a vendor event with Callie. She's a leader at Champion, and it was at a hospital. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing it. I'm not up for this. I was feeling so defeated and heartbroken, and I just I'm not doing it. And I called her. I was like, I can't do this. I can't go to a hospital. I don't want to smell the smells. I don't want to hear the sounds. I just can't. And so a couple minutes later, I get a call from Pam Clift, and she says, hey, doll, what's going on? So I told her, like, I can't do this. I just can't. And she heard me out. And then she says, you know what? You've worked really hard and you're so far in your DIQ program. And in the old program, you had to start all the way over if you fell out. It was a big bummer. There was no rolling months. So I was like, she's like, you've come so far. She said, I don't want to see this slip away from you. She goes, you really need to get back to work. And she said, it's time for you to put your big girl panties on and get back to work. That's what your family deserves it. You deserve it. And it is what your father would want. And I was like, okay, I'll go do it. And that is what is known as the Big Girl Panties speech at Champion Enterprises. It's infamous. But you know what? It was exactly what I needed in that moment. And so in my month 6, okay, again, old program, in my month 6, I had to get 22 active team members before I could come out as a director. And you know what? Pam and I made a plan, and we made it happen at 11:59 on month end. And I became a director, and I went to my very first Jubilee as a brand new director. A couple months later, I get a call from Pam, and she says, you know what? We want you to talk at our Fall Fest. And I'm like, what do you want me to talk about? She goes, we want you to share your story of success. And I'm like, well, so a couple days ago, we found out we're losing our house. And me, my husband, my dog, and 2 kids, and all of our things are moving into my in-laws' house. So I'm not sure I'm the best person to be talking about success. And she kind of laughed. She's like, yes, you are. I'll be up there with you. It's going to be great. And I realized that success is not a title, and success is not things. Success is a state of mind. It is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, it's a state of mind. And it's so important to realize that your mind is your biggest asset. And you need to be speaking that positivity, that life into yourself before you speak it to anybody else. You need to speak it into yourself. And it was funny because in that moment I realized I believed that. I believed that. I was believing in myself. And I stood up on that stage and I ended my speech and I said, you know what? I'd like to say that life, has gotten easier, but the struggles continue. And we just lost our house, or maybe my in-laws. But I know that we had to release these things in order to open ourselves up for what God has in store for us. And it may not be bigger, but it will certainly be better. And I was like, and right there, I have my belief. All that time I've been borrowing Pam's belief. And I realized in that moment, I had it now. I have my belief. And I'm saying, have I had belief for the last 14 years, 24/7? Absolutely not. I wish I could say yes, but it just doesn't work that way. And if it does, you're superhuman, okay? And kudos to you, because it just doesn't work that way. But to know that you have that support from people and to know how to bring that belief back to you is so, so powerful. So, all right. So I have a couple things, right? So one of the things that I did from the beginning is I planned for tomorrow today. Right? Because when I started, I was like 95% sure that there was no way we could stop that ball from rolling and like save our house, right? I knew we were going to lose that house. And I knew someday I'd want a new house. So I knew I needed to work. I knew that somewhere deep in my heart, I think I wanted another baby, right? But I wanted that decision to be based on my family and my heart, not on finances. And so I knew I needed to work. I knew that I wanted to be a 6-figure earner. And I needed to work for that. I knew that I wanted the extras for my kids, and I needed to work for that. I knew I wanted to be a leader of leaders. I used to say it to myself all the time before I was even in Tupperware. I am a leader of leaders. I am a leader of leaders. Ellen Lewis, leader of leaders. I think I even put it on a business card. Ellen Lewis, leader of leaders, right? And I knew in order to be a leader of leaders, I had to be a leader and I had to work. I had to work. I had to recruit. I had to get more, I had to do all the things. And more than anything, I wanted that financial security because I was tired. I was so tired of flying without a safety net. I was tired of any time something big happened and there was some big repair, we had to ask somebody for help because we couldn't cover it on our own. I was tired of that. And I knew I needed to work. Now I want to ask you, have you ever lost a home to foreclosure? Have you ever gotten your car repossessed? Have you ever been standing at the pharmacy crying because you needed medicine for your baby that cost $80 and you had $20 to your name, not in your pocket, to your name? Have you ever eaten Salisbury steak 3 times a week because it was $2 and you could feed your whole family with that and a cup of rice? Have you ever not been able to provide those basic needs for your family? Have you ever felt like an absolute, utter failure? I could go on. And I know all of you have your own things that you have dealt with over this time. But now I ask, have you ever promoted a manager? Have you ever paid off a house in 5 years because of your business, because of something you built, because of something you grew? Have you ever promoted a director? Have you ever watched one of your leaders walk across a stage or get some sort of really amazing recognition and felt that pride that you never thought you could feel for anybody besides your kids? Seriously, have you ever driven a company car? Have you ever not worried about the fact that your car in the driveway is less than 2 years old and it's going to start tomorrow, even though it's like negative 20 outside? Because that happens sometimes in Northeast Ohio. I don't know where you're from, but right? I mean, seriously, have you ever made 6 figures? Have you ever had a paycheck that was $17,000 in 1 month? Because that can happen here. And it can't happen anywhere, but it can happen here in Tupperware. Like, that is possible. And I believe, it can happen for anybody. Anybody at all. What you need to do to make that happen is to be willing, coachable, and hungry. And that's what I was from day one. I was willing, coachable, and hungry. Now, this is not something that you're just privileged to have. This is something that comes and goes. And so you have to check with yourself. Am I still willing and able and hungry? You know how I knew I was willing and able and hungry in the beginning? When Pam said jump, I said how high. I didn't ask her why. I didn't say why. Why am I supposed to jump? Why would I do that? How do I jump? I just said, okay. And I just started doing it. And she's like, okay, now higher. No, do it this way. Do it this way. And she kept correcting me as I went. And that's coaching. And I just did whatever it was she said to do. I turned off my brain and I followed the instructions. And the thing is I still have to ask myself those things. In the beginning, I remember when she would ask me to do something like, oh my gosh, I totally can't do that. That's way out of my comfort zone. And then I would say to myself, okay, if somebody offered me 6 figures, would I do that? Guess what the answer always was? Yes. Hello. If somebody offered me 6 figures to make a phone call, would I make it? Yeah. That's yeah. And so I used to ask myself that. And so if you find yourself, right, you find yourself starting to get a little bit of an attitude, right? Or maybe you're feeling bad about yourself. You're feeling not confident. And you find yourself going, I can't do that. I can't go live. I can't learn how to do that. I can't learn how to make a graphic. I don't like this program that Tupperware has. I don't like these things. I can't do that. I'm not doing that. Guess what? You're not. You're not willing, you're not coachable, and you're not hungry. All right? And so when you are those 3 things, you will truly be unstoppable in this business. Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt, because the dream is alive here in Tupperware more than ever before. Like more than ever before. Never before have we had such a diverse amount of things that we can do to market our business. Never before have we had the tools in place that we have right now from Tupperware, from whatever company you're with, from the region, right? Never before have you had training this available to you from corporate, from, again, the region. These next 3 days, oh my gosh, people would pay big bucks to get the training we're going to get in the next 3 days, okay? And oh my gosh, hello? Google, you can freaking Google anything. You can learn how to do this business through watching YouTube videos, people, right? Never before has it been more accessible to be successful in this business. But you have to take action on it. You have to take action on it. Because somebody out there is taking action on it. And then you're going to sit here a year from now and you're going to go, man, see? I should have learned that. I should have tried that. I should have put myself out there. I should have made a fool of myself. Right? All right. So thank you, everybody who stayed with me all the way till the end. Much mad love for you all. And thank you, business leaders, for inviting me to come share today. I appreciate all of you from the bottom of my heart. And mostly and definitely, I am so grateful to our corporate office. I am grateful for everybody at the corporate office, because as hard as it's been for us these last couple years, I wouldn't say hard, as interesting as it has been for us over these last 2 years, bobbing and weaving and learning new things, right? they have been right there doing it with us, and they have been helping us and backing us. They are the ones that lift us up to be able to do what it is we do, and they continue to do it and make these improvements. So mad love to all of you. So thank you, everybody. Have an amazing day. And I don't know about you, but I cannot wait to watch all this training these next couple days and take like crazy notes. All right. But don't forget to schedule your time to put them into action this weekend. Don't delay. You need to put something into action before your head hits the pillow Sunday night. All right, everybody. Bye. Have a great day.